things that William L. Garrison
Power to
said
the people.
in American history in reference to his opposition to the institution of slavery. That's so we wanted you to
Liberator,
talk about that.
William L. Garrison.
Okay, so
David Walker.
When we come back, we start talking about the abolitionist movement.
And appealing for articles in Harriet Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom's Cabin.
You got to say something about the slave, about what they were appealing against. You know, about
No.
slave, how they worked and what.
No.
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, so
Harriet
we're
Beecher
gonna have
Stowe,
eight
William
minutes.
L. Garrison, David Walker. And if we have time, Frederick Douglass. I'll throw it in
Well,
there.
you always try to find time for Frederick Douglass. He's one of the great.
I always find time for Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, well,
My life motto.
yeah, he's indeed very, very significant.
Yeah, he was an aide to Lincoln. Like, talk about getting to the big leagues, you know, escaping slavery and then being an aide to the president. Oof.
Yeah, and eventually he did.
Yeah, well, no.
Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is the abolitionist movement and African Americans, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about African Americans and the abolitionist movement, Alana McLaughlin. And Alana has already given us some information in reference to her background, education, and why she feels that she is qualified in a real sense to talk about slavery and the abolitionist movement. And so, Alana, let's see if we can pick up where we left off before our first commercial break, and to have you to start dealing with the abolitionists, those individuals who opposed slavery and some of the impacts that they had on American society.
So if you're just tuning in the first subject, I really said that for every terrible event in history, there's always someone who either shares their story and their experiences to give us an inside knowledge, or there's someone who fights against it. Like, for instance, during the Holocaust, Anne Frank kept her diary, and her father, Otto Frank, decided to publish it after her death to show people what the Holocaust did to them and how the Holocaust really was. And during slavery, we had abolitionists. We had people such as William L. Garrison, which is one of the few Caucasian people who decided to rise against slavery. And basically, he just decided to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to fight against this to my death, and I do not care what y'all threaten to do to me. And he's also known for being an editor of a newspaper called The Liberator. And this was an anti-slavery newspaper, which was one of the few back then. And he, in a real sense, he decided to fight for those who didn't have a voice. He was the voice of the people, and he dedicated his life and his safety to showing the world that this is not right and that this is something that we should end. And another big person who was an abolitionist was David Walker. David Walker is known for writing and appealing for articles. And if you're not familiar with it, I'll give you my favorite quote from him, which basically says, "It is no more harm to kill a man who is trying to kill you than it is to take a drink of water when thirsty." And basically, to break that down for you, it's saying that it is not bad to kill someone who's trying to kill you. It's like, you know, kill or be killed. And that's basically all that an appealing for articles mainly talked about. It was revolt against slavery, you know, kill or be killed, give your life for this, because, you know, they're going to kill you, so you might as well kill them first. And that's what a lot of abolitionists thought back then, because imagine being in a situation where it's someone else's life or yours. You may not want to believe this, but you're most likely going to choose your life, because if someone's beating you, torturing your family, you're going to want to fight against it. And that's what a lot of slaves did. You know, John Brown's revolt in West Virginia. And I was very fortunate to be able to visit Harper's Ferry last year and be able to see where the revolt took place. And, you know, so many people gave their life for this. And John Brown gave his life for John Brown's revolt. And all these things were wake-up calls to so many people, like, is what I'm doing right? You know, would I enjoy someone doing this to me? And so, aside from William L. Garrison and, you know, John Brown and David Walker, there were so many women. And I think a very famous woman is a woman by the name of Harriet Beecher Stowe. If you're unfamiliar with Miss Stowe, she was the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was another one of those, you know, books, pamphlets, articles that basically just slammed slavery, condemned it, said it was a sin and so many things. And it was outstanding, and it was really heartwarming to see that so many people woke up and smelled the roses, and they finally believed that this was wrong. And so, you know, us African Americans and all the other races that were enslaved, we are forever grateful to those Harriet Beecher Stowes and to those William L. Garrisons of the world, because without them, we either wouldn't have been, we would have still been enslaved, or our story wouldn't have gotten out as widespread as it did. Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin sold over 300,000 copies in its first year. And that is a lot. Like modern day, that's a lot of copies of that. So just imagine 3,000 people, you know, I'm going to say about a good chunk of them are saying, wow, this woman's so stupid. And then there's always that percentage of them that are praising her for saying thank you and crying and just on their knees thanking her, because you give insight to the horrors that we go through. And you are risking your life for people, most of them you don't even know, just for strangers, but you feel their pain in a way, and you know that what people are doing to them is wrong. And so we are always thankful for those types of people, because without them, we don't even want to think what would be going on. Just think about, for instance, Anne Frank and the Holocaust, and a bunch of other powerful Holocaust writers. Without them, would we really have an eye-to-eye view of what the Holocaust was really like? Because there weren't that many recordings, and there weren't there were pictures, you know, and you can see that in the Holocaust Museum in D.C. Beautiful, well, not beautiful, but powerful museum. And it's crazy to sit and think about all of this, and we cannot forget the people who delivered us from